Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Speak On It. I'm your boy, R.W. Coolins. First and foremost, giving honor to God who allows me to come at you in this manner on a weekly basis. How's everybody doing out there this morning? Appreciate you for tuning in. Let's go ahead and get these formalities out the way. Got to good morning. 844-904-2665. That's 844-904-2665. No matter what the situation is, let your voice be heard. All we ask to say what you mean what you say. We call in his friends, we leave his family. That's what we do here every Saturday morning on the Speak On It show. Trying to get my bearings, y'all. Y'all know I had some technical difficulties last week, so I'm trying to work through them again this week to make sure everything's good. But let's start off with this. Well, let's do what we normally do. Can I vote? www.nass.org. Can I vote? It's the website. You see it there? That's the website. You can go there. National Association Secretary of State. Go there, put your information in, make sure you register to vote. We got a big one coming up. 2024 is the year of the vote. We got to make sure we're doing our due diligence to ensure that you get out there and practice one of the rights that you have in this country. No matter who you're voting for, and we'll get into that a little later, make sure you're exercising your right to vote. That's all I'm going to say on that today. You're going to get that out the way. Go on and get that out the way. Now, let's go and get rid of this. www.nass.org. Can I vote? Make sure you go there, get your information, make sure you update it. We're going to continue to say this. I know you're getting tired of hearing it, but some people are just tuning in for the first time and haven't heard it. So I want to make sure they got the site. www.nass.org. Can I vote? That's simple. Very simple. Very simple. Very, very simple. Just go there, get your information, put it in, and we go from there. Now, my apologies for last week. Had some technical difficulties. You know, sometimes these things happen in the studio, but we're back this week. We're going to continue to do what we do, like we do every week, give you the information you need and everything like that. But I want to start off with this. Tomorrow, 9:00 Eastern time. Write this down, y'all. I posted it on my Facebook page. Black Men in America, Road to 2024. Black Men in America, Road to 2024. It's on MSNBC tomorrow night, 9:00 Eastern time. Make sure you tune in. Listen to some of the opinions that some black men in America have about why they won't vote for Joe Biden, why they won't vote for Trump, and vice versa. Why they are looking to vote for Donald Trump, how they felt about Donald Trump when he was in office. Should be a good conversation. Black Men in America, Road to 2024, MSNBC, 9:00 Eastern time, Sunday evening. Tune in. Listen to what they got to say. Ryan Hoodie, good morning. Good morning. Appreciate you, my brother. Appreciate you. So that's something that I posted this morning. I seen it. There's a video trailer that goes along with it. Check it out. Get some understanding of what's really, what the opinions are. Because we very rarely do we see opinions about how we stand, where we stand, as far as who we're voting for, why we're voting for them, what we look at as the positives, the negatives, and everything. Tune into it, get an understanding. Maybe it'll trigger something in you to make you look at things differently. That's what I try to do every Saturday morning. Maybe have you look at things differently from each of these candidates that it looks like will be the nominees for each party, or it could turn you in a different direction. But we need to look at all the resources that are out there for us to get an understanding of what's going on and to make a conscious decision when we get to the polls in November. All right. All right. Big Al, come on, little brother, Atlanta bound. Let's ride. Let's ride, bro. Let's ride. Be safe out there. Be safe out there. For everybody out there, look here. A lot of storms, a lot of weather occurrences going on out here and everything. All I'm going to ask everybody is be safe out there because, there's a lot of things going on in this world that happen every day. But a lot of times we take life for granted. Be safe out there. Be safe in everything you're doing every day. We see things happening, and because it's not happening to us, we don't think that it will happen to us. Just be safe out there. Pay attention. Know what's going on around you. Do your due diligence. Pay attention. That's all I'm going to say on that this morning because I don't want to make this a downer. But be safe out there, Big Al. Be safe out there, everybody that's on the road traveling and your goings and everything. Just be safe. That's all I'm going to say. So, February, Black History Month comes around once a year. Should be every day. if you're doing your due diligence, reading your books and getting your kids acclimated into Black history and what goes on and what is going on in this country, not with the good, the bad, and the ugly, but also the positives of what our people have done in this country to make it a better place. Inventors, educators, so on and so forth. We need to be aware of those people, just like we're aware of everything that was wrong. We need to be aware of the things that we have done in this country to make it the country that it is. So during this Black History Month, make sure you get out, read some books, look at some shows. There's a show on, and I can't remember where it's on. National Geographic. It's called Malcolm/X. I'm sorry, Martin. Martin/X, if I recall. Don't judge me on that. National Geographic has a show on there. And I think our friend of the show, Michelle Sumrall, has a cameo in one of the episodes. We go out there, and if I get the information, I'll post it online so you can go watch it. I think it started on Wednesday or Thursday. It's a series, so it has different parts to it. But go watch that. It'll give you some insight on their relationship, the things they were dealing with behind closed doors, different things like that. Make sure you go there. But being that this is African American History Month, Black History Month, African American History Month, whichever way you want to look at it. Recognizing the dearth of information on the accomplishments of Blacks in 1915, Dr. Woodson founded the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History, now called the Association for the Study of African American Life and History, ASALH. Under Woodson's pioneering leadership, the association created research and publication outlets for Black scholars with the establishment of the Journal of Negro History in 1916, and the Negro History Bulletin in 1937, which garners a popular public appeal. In 1926, Dr. Woodson initiated the celebration of Negro History Week, which corresponded with the birthdays of Frederick Douglass and Abraham Lincoln. In 1976, this celebration was expanded to include the entire month of February. And today, Black History Month garners support throughout the country as people of all ethnic and social backgrounds discuss the Black experience. Yeah, I'll keep that to myself. Let me keep reading. ASALH views the promotion of Black History Month as one of the most important components of advancing Dr. Woodson's legacy. The theme this year for African American Black History is African Americans and the arts. African American art is infused with African, Caribbean, and the Black American lived experiences in the fields of visual and performing arts, literature, fashion, folklore, language, film, music, architecture, culinary, and other forms of cultural expression. The African American influence has been paramount. African American artists have used art to preserve history and community memory, as well as for empowerment. Artistic and cultural movements such as the New Negro, Black arts, Black Renaissance, hip hop, and Afrofuturism have been led by people of African descent and set the standard for popular trends around the world. In 2024, we examine the varied history and life of African American arts and artisans. So this year, 2024, because there's a theme every year. And I'll be honest, I didn't know this, but there's a theme every year on what this month's celebration is going to be based around. This year is African Americans and the arts. So you're talking about theater, acting, music, fashion, literature, performing arts, film, architecture, culinary, all the things that deal with arts. Get out. If they have any things going on in your area, go out, enjoy them, be a part of them, participate. We always, and I'm gonna digress for a minute. We, as the African American community, and I'm saying we because it's inclusive. We always talk about what's being taken away, how to take the books off shelves, how they're not doing this, they're not recognizing this. We have to be more involved in what we're asking or what we expect. And we have to go to the parades. We have to be a part of the ensembles, the forums, the different speeches that are being given, any of the activities that are going on in February, not to include every year, that the events that go on throughout the year, rather than us complain about what we're not getting from someone, we need to be more proactive and be involved in the things that are going on in our communities that include us. We have to be proactive and start doing that rather than just saying they're not. You know, there's parades. You had Martin Luther King Jr. parades for his Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. on his birthday. We have parades and different things going on, and a lot of us don't participate. But if we're not participating, then we're part of the problem. We want the legacy to stand, but we're not doing our thing to hold up the legacy when it comes around to celebrate these things. Should be celebrated every day, but sometimes we fall by the wayside and don't do what we're supposed to do. Just want to put that out there. Russell Jenkins, greetings and salutations. Appreciate you, my brother. Appreciate you. But yeah, Black African American History Month, Black History Month, whichever way you want to look at it. Let's celebrate what's supposed to be celebrated at a time and recognize those who came before us, who've laid the groundwork, and who are still doing great things in our community now. Let's give them their flowers while they can still smell them. We got to be better at what we need to do to make it happen. Let's go. In the news. We got some things going on I want to touch on. Mark Cheeks, good morning, my brother. Appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for the support. So this week, and we've been hearing about this, it's been going on for a minute now. Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Lewis is under scrutiny right now. She's under scrutiny because of a relationship that she's having with someone on her team that is prosecuting the charges against Donald Trump and the other folks in Atlanta, Georgia. Let's read this and then I'll give you my opinion on this, but let's go ahead and read this. Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis and Nathan Wade is his name. I'm sorry. Her lead prosecutor on the 2020 election case both acknowledge in court papers that they have a personal relationship, but strongly push back on claims that she financially benefited from hiring him. So what they're saying, if anybody didn't know, let's catch up. Attorney Fannie Willis and Nathan Wade are on this case against Donald Trump and what happened in Georgia when he said find the votes and all that type thing, right? Somehow along the lines or whatever, Mr. Nathan Wade's going through a divorce. Him and Miss Fannie Willis, they started having some kind of a personal relationship. Maybe they were dating, maybe they doing, whatever goes on. They're two adults. Let's go there. However, someone brought up a case to get her thrown off of the case because they say it's a conflict of interest because she's dating one of the lead prosecutors on her team. They're saying that she's paying him an absorbent amount of money and she's gaining and benefiting from that money. That's just to round it up. Now, the person that brought the case is someone who is being charged in the court case in Georgia with Donald Trump. And they're saying that it's a conflict of interest. She shouldn't be on the case. And it's a whole bunch of things they're doing. But I'm going to get in and let me finish reading. The filing from Willis, who was spearheading the Georgia criminal case against former President Donald Trump and his allies over efforts to overturn the 2020 election, includes an affidavit from Mr. Wade, who says that in 2022, him and Mrs. Willis developed a personal relationship in addition to our professional association and friendship. Wade denied that his earnings on the case have been shared with or provided to Mrs. Willis. The district attorney received no funds or personal financial gain from my position as the special prosecutor. This is crazy. Willis also said their personal relationship has never involved direct or indirect financial benefit to District Attorney Willis. So she's saying she didn't gain anything from it. This is just a personal relationship. Something grew out of them working together. Things happen. Sometimes, and I'm digressing here, but sometimes what you find out is people fall into or become involved with people who are in close proximity, whether it be at work, whether it be at home, whether it be sometimes you may be working with somebody and relationships develop. I'm not saying that it's right. I mean, he's still going through his divorce proceedings, but he's been separated. So I'm not going to get into all the legal stuff, but I'm just bringing up the fact that what they're trying to do in this situation is to muddy the water that she should not be able to prosecute Donald Trump and all those, I'm gonna say cronies along with him for what they did in Georgia because of her personal relationship with a special prosecutor on her team who is being paid, and she may be gaining financial gain from that. Neither here nor there. You probably have different situations like this all over the place, but they're highlighting this only because who it is and what she's prosecuting and who she's prosecuting. Let's just call it what it is. Terrence Collins, good morning, my brother. Good morning. Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you for the support, my brother. So Willis said in the court filing that the salacious allegations do not reach the legal grounds required for her to be disqualified from the Georgia election interference case. I'm not going to read all this, but I'm going to say this. And this is my opinion from the outside looking in. I don't know neither one of these people. But I will say, anytime that you decide to enter into a relationship, personal relationship, friend relationship, anything like that in your workplace and things like that, things can get muddy. The only thing I will say with this is District Attorney Willis, and I want to make sure I get his name right again, Mr. Wade. The conduct is the only thing that I would think would be in question of why now with this going on. Because you knew that the microscope was already on what you were trying to do in the court of law against the former president. If y'all felt that strongly, and it's just me, if y'all felt that strongly about being in a relationship and everything, let everything go through and then do whatever you want after the fact. With that microscope and with position comes responsibility. And in those responsibilities comes, scrutiny, because people are going to scrutinize, even if they weren't in a relationship, but they seen them together, even in spite of the fact they're working on this case. There would be rumblings, knowing that he was going through a divorce, which I don't know how people are all in his business like that. But I think his wife brought something forward saying that his soon-to-be ex-wife brought something forward to say that she was a part of the reason why they were getting divorced and all this, but the filing was in before all this, something to that effect. I'm not going down that rabbit hole. The bottom line is this. They're trying to muddy the water with the case in Georgia by bringing this to the spotlight for public opinion. It all has to do, and when you're talking about what's going on with all these cases, let's just step back for a minute. When you look at the 91 indictments that were brought against this former president, and you look at everything that's been being said and everything that's being done and all these different delays and this and that, the biggest part that he is trying to win has nothing to do with the court system. What he is trying to win is public opinion about how he's being done wrong, what he should not be prosecuted for. Presidential immunity is on the table right now. He wants overall immunity, as we talked about last week. This public opinion, campaign is what he's more concerned about, because if he wins the opinion of the public and he's not taken off the ballot because of the insurrection before November, he's looking for the public opinion to re-elect him to be the president of the United States, where he can go in and eliminate anything and everything that he's been being accused of. So when you're out here and you're talking about, like I was talking about, the conversation is going to be on MSNBC about black men and the vote of 2024, pay very close attention of what's being said, what the optics are, and what the public opinion processes, what the public opinion polls are saying about this election and about whether he's good for the country, bad for the country. Because everyone's looking at my stock, as you may heard me mention before, my 401k was doing better under Donald Trump. Well, you can't just use that opinion no more, because the stock market right now is at a high. Well, the border crisis wasn't that bad under Trump. Well, you got the same thing going on now that went on then, and Donald Trump is behind the scenes telling the Republican Party and the Senate and the Congress not to vote for the bill, one of the best bills they say they've ever had about immigration policy and the border. And he's telling them not to sign it because it will give President Joe Biden the upper hand when it comes to election time. Think about that. These are the things that are going on behind the scenes that a lot of us, we hear, but we don't pay attention to. Let's get this comment in here. Russell Jenkins, deflection is a good try. My opinion is I don't see nothing wrong with the relationship. I don't see nothing wrong with the relationship. However, in public opinion, you're always going to have those that feel, because here's what they say. Let's just be honest. Until the divorce is final, he is still a married man. No matter how much the separation is, no matter, and if you're, and most people will have the opinion of her because of that fact. And they're bleeding that into the fact of, think about this, if she can't make a honest, conscious decision on how she's going to live her life by dating a married man who, even though he's separated, how can we choose? How can we trust her in what she's doing to prosecute a former president of the United States? Is she able to do her job and make conscious decisions if she's making a decision like this at this time? That's all it is. Edward Allen, bad optics. That's exactly what it is. It does not look good. It's not saying, and here's the thing, they're trying to bleed all this in because of the bad optics and the bad visuals and the bad way it may look with her and his and her relationship, and him being the special prosecutor on her team as her, you know, as they always say, giving him a position that he's not qualified for. We're going to get into this, but he is qualified. He's very qualified. But that's what they're trying to run with now, is he's in the position because of the relationship, not because of his qualifications. So the optics of it is what's causing the more problem, per se, from other people's opinions. But as I was saying, when you get into these positions, and we are all conscious of what decisions we make. And when you get in certain positions, there's always a spotlight on you when you're sitting in these positions. What you have to understand, and I think we all know this, but I'm just going to reiterate, what you have to understand is, with more responsibility, with more spotlight, with more money, more problems, per se. But when you're in a position of what you're doing right now, everything about you is open for opinion. Right, wrong, or indifferent. She knew it when she took the case. She knew it leading up to the point where she brought the charges. Hell, they was trying to put her out of being the district attorney for other things, and they're still trying to do it now. So anything they can bring up against her, they're going to bring. Why give them more fuel for the fire? That's all I'm saying. Russell Jenkins, if she was white, would it be the same? Yeah, I didn't want to go down that rabbit hole, but since you brought it up, I'm going to go ahead and ride this train. No, it wouldn't. Because here's what you have to understand. And a lot of people will say, well, nah, it don't matter if it's black or white and all this kind of stuff. Not a true statement. Not a true statement, because I will say this. Fannie Willis is more than qualified for the job she was elected to do. Mr. Wade is more than qualified for the position that she put him in for this prosecution of Donald Trump. Never once did you hear anybody question their capabilities or their qualifications until now, when they found something that makes it seem like if you can't make a good decision in your own personal life, how are you making a decision in this case that could cause a ripple effect all over the United States? Where's your judgment? Now, when we talk about the white aspect of it, no, it doesn't, because in most cases, they never bring that to the forefront. It's only when they look like us is when it becomes an issue of who we are, what we do in our personal lives. If you think about it, what goes on in our community with our actors, our comedians, our entertainers, or athletes, they are more scrutinized, not by their play on the field in most cases, not by how they perform or anything like that, but when something happens in their personal life, it gets magnified. And 9 times out of 10, it has nothing to do with how they do their job on a daily basis. But those that are of non-color get the benefit of the doubt with the decisions they make, or they go into the court system and try to drag things along for so long, or what they should have been sentenced in, they end up getting probation. There's a woman, and I'm digressing today. Y'all just bear with me because this is this is straight talk, no chasing today. I'm just letting it ride. There was a case the other day where a woman stabbed a man 100 times. Stabbed him 100 times. Got 6 months probation. If I'm correct, it was only 6 months. 100 times. Probation. But let's go back. Remember the young lady in Tennessee that was held hostage for all those years and being sex trafficked and all that? And then she killed her abuser, and she spent years and years in jail before they finally released her, and then they put her back in because the thing was overturned. I can't remember her name. Cannot remember her name. However, this is the difference when we talk about the injustice in the justice system. Case in point, when you're involved in the justice system, you know you're under a microscope. Sometimes you got to step back for a minute and choose wisely. Now, like I said, I don't know these two individuals. I respect them for what they do, their accolades and everything like that. And I hope that all this will come to pass so we can move on to what's more important, and that's trying the case for these former President Donald Trump and all those minions that were along with him who tried to overturn the election in Georgia. That's the basis of what this is about. Not who she's sleeping with, not who he's sleeping with, whether they were cheating, going on trips, whatever. I don't care. Let's get to the bare facts of what this is about. Did this former president try to overturn the will of the people in Georgia? That's it. That's it. So we can, talk about it over and over and over again, but that's the bottom line. Michelle Summerall, good morning. If she was trying one of the Donald's harassment sexually related cases, maybe that would be an issue. But this trial has nothing to do with that. She should not be removed. No, she should not be removed. She should not. And they have some kind of impeachment power over her position, which they voted in just recently because of who she is, not too long ago. But you're right. If this had anything to do with sexual harassment or anything that he did in that realm, completely different conversation. Then she should recuse herself from that. We've heard recuse so many times, but we only hear it in certain situations because if you understand, Clarence Thomas has never had to recuse himself from anything as much money he's been getting behind the scenes. But that's another conversation for another day. But if this was a case dealing with anything that's dealing with, the harassment, sexuality, any sexually related case, anything like that, I completely agree with Michelle Summerall. But being that it's not, and it's dealing with votes, and all the time this investigation has been going on, and now that we're about to go to trial, all of a sudden she's not qualified. He's not qualified. Nobody raised a flag about Mr. Wade being on that team until there was some thoughts or someone raised a flag to say they're having a personal relationship. Who cares? Let's just be honest. Who cares? Because if the people in the office knew and they didn't care about it, did it cause a hostile work environment? Did it change the atmosphere in the work environment? See, as management, we understand it. What is it? How is it affecting the workplace? Or is it affecting the workplace? These are two qualified people doing their job. It's not the fact of the job they're doing. It's who the case is against. Let's call it what it is. It's who the case is against, and it's what the people look like that are bringing the case. Fannie Willis, Nathan Wade. That's where we're at. I also seen where she said she is not and will not step down. I don't blame her. You want me gone, you're gonna have to get me gone. You're gonna have to get me gone. That's my verbiage. Y'all don't use that. And then here it also says this is what I was talking about. The alleged affair was first raised by Trump's co-defendant, former 2020 campaign official Mike Roman, last month in a court filing that accused Willis of financially benefiting when Wade took her on lavish vacations, partly paid for with what he billed her office for work. on the case. Willis appointed Wade special prosecutor in 2021. She appointed him as special prosecutor in 2021. This is 2024. Closer we get to these trial dates, the more you're going to see this happening. The more you're going to see this happening. Let's just call it what it is. The more you're going to see this happening. It could be a distraction, in which it is a distraction. You know, there's always something that's going to throw some kind of distraction in there to make us seem that we're not worthy to be in some of the positions we're in. But up to this point, Fani Willis has been doing a damn good job from what I know. And I'm not even in Georgia. Excuse me. But I know how to read. I know how to listen. I know how to read and I know how to listen. So is it truly about that? Or is it about something else? OT, happy Black History Month. Happy Black History Month, my brother. And that's to everybody out there today. So here's the other part. Let's transition here for a minute. This one that I'm going to talk about now, for all my normal listeners out there, or long-term listeners, first-time listeners, everybody. This one's going to get under your skin a little bit. It's going to get under your skin a little bit. So I'm just warning you ahead of time. Because the verbiage used and the analogy used with this, and I'm going to play 2 videos for you. But the mentality behind this lets you know everything that you need to know about what's going on now and has been going on when we talk about certain things. And this is a video of a guy called Charlie Kirk. Now, let me clear this up real quick. I have a video of Charlie Kirk, and then I have a video of Candace Owens. And y'all know me well enough to know that normally, under normal circumstances, I may discuss them, but I would never put a video up about them. But in this case, to get the true essence of what I want to touch on, I have to play the video. I'm gonna just put that out there. Normally, I don't give these people highlights like that. I may talk about it, read it from us, but I don't put the videos up. In this case, you gotta see the video because I don't want you to hear from my mouth. I want you to hear from theirs. So let's go ahead. This is Charlie Kirk on his show. He's the founder and president of a conservative Turning Point USA is an organization. But this is something he said this week, and it deals with diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, that you've heard me talk about many times. So let's get into this video. And then when we come back, when I come back, we're going to get into it. Here we go.
Why I think this United story and the DEI story hits so hard, because we've all been in the back of a plane when the turbulence hits, or when you're flying through a storm and you're like, I'm so glad I saw the guy with the right stuff and the square jaw get into the cockpit before we took off, and I feel better now.
No, I mean, like, that. You want to go thought crime? Like, I'm sorry, if I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified.
Well, that's the you wouldn't have done that. You wouldn't have. You wouldn't have done that before.
That's not an immediate.
No, you wouldn't have done that before.
That's not who I am. That's not.
Y'all hear that? If I let me back up. Let me back up for a minute. Let me back up. When I get on the plane and I see the square jaw line and a guy that's ready to fly that plane, I'm comfortable. But then Charlie Kirk comes in and says, if I get on a plane and I see a black pilot, I'm not comfortable. I may be paraphrasing, but y'all heard it. If I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified. He later added, it was not who I am. That's not what I believe. But said he was being made to react that way because he felt policies adopted by major companies regarding ethnic minorities meant less qualified people were being given jobs with significant responsibility, including airline pilots. Russell Jenkins, it's that's not who I am for me. No, that's not. That's exactly who you are, sir. Michelle, something wrong. I'm super proud when I see black pilots. I'm over the moon when I see black female pilots. And we're going to get into female pilots in a minute as well. And I'm laughing, but I'm not laughing. I'm laughing at the ignorance. I'm laughing at the ignorance. Because I'm going, before I play Candace Owens, I'm going to start here because she in her segment, she defended Charlie Kirk, which you should already know she would do that. But she defended what he had to say. And then she went on to say some other things. But my thing about this is that when I get on a plane, 9 times out of 10, I don't even see the pilot. Very rarely do you see the pilot unless you decide to look in the cockpit or whatever, or you see them at the gate before they get on to do what they got to do before you take off. But never in my life have I seen a pilot and said, I got some questions. Never have I seen a pilot and said, I wonder if he's qualified. Because 9 times out of 10, most of the pilots we see are Caucasian. In most cases, if you look at it, I mean, it should be real. But let's take it to another step. If I got to get on a bus to go from the airport to the rental car terminal, do I ask if that black driver is qualified to get me from there to there? No. You know why? Because they expect us to be bus drivers. They don't expect us to be pilots. Let's just call this what it is. There's a certain expectation of what we are qualified to do by how we look, than what we're qualified to do because of who we are and what we know. And Charlie Kirk just put the icing on the cake with what he said, because at the end of the day, we are still being judged by opinions of who we are, who they think we are, rather than our qualifications, our education value, and what we bring to the table because of their insecurities. They're so insecure with who we are and what we're capable of doing in spite of, that they've lowered themselves to say, if I see a black pilot, I'm not okay with that. But if they see you riding through the neighborhood picking up their trash can, no harm, no foul. If they see you driving the shuttle bus from the terminal over to the car rental place, no harm, no foul. If they see you behind the grill cooking their food in a fast food restaurant or a restaurant in the airport, they have no problem with that. But if you're a pilot, there's questions on whether you're qualified to do their job. That slave mentality that these people still carry with them, that we're only able or qualified or educated to do mediocre, and excuse my words, I'm not going to say mediocre, do jobs that are service oriented in that aspect, I'll say. Not at the level of the pilot, because people don't look at pilots and people that fly planes and stuff as a service oriented profession, but it is. But let's go back to the mentality of what service profession jobs are, like the short order cooks or in restaurants or the bus drivers or any of those type things. Those are the jobs that they expect to see us in, not the jobs in corporate America, not the CEO position, not the president of a company, not the director of anything. If you get on a plane and you're worried about whether I'm qualified to fly that plane, then you have to ask yourself, if you're worried about my skin tone and whether I'm ready, whether I'm qualified to fly that plane, I'm going to go out on a limb as a black man and say this. If I see a black pilot, I trust and believe me, I know he's qualified. Male or female, I know he or she is qualified to fly that plane, because there is no way, I don't care what type of diversity, equity, inclusion parts they play in this, there is no way that you can convince me that they're going to allow anybody of color to slip through the cracks for something that has that much responsibility in this world. Now, on the other side of that, oh yeah, because we've seen it. And I'll go back to when Katrina hit. And the guy named Brown Mike Brown, I think it was his name, was a director of FEMA. And then they found out he was nowhere qualified to be a director of FEMA or anything else. And all those people died in Katrina because of his lack of qualifications to get the job done. See how soon we forget. I'm super proud. Oh, I've read that. I'm sorry. I'm off on them. Michelle Summer, since the movie Flight, I look for the pilot. I want to see his or her eyes. I look for him in the bar. If I see him in the bar, I'm watching what gate they go to. That's what I'm saying. Jacket D's my net. Sir, appreciate your support. Appreciate your support. Brown Hoodie, tell the truth. Brown Hoodie just found out the engineer of Flight in America was a black man, not the Wright brothers. Oh, yeah. And that's something that, as I say again, we take what is given to us as fact. We don't go back and do the research ourselves. We don't do the research ourselves. Now, mind you, this engineer of Flight in America, the black man, he used to work with the Wright brothers at some point. They took what he was doing and just ran with it. But we've seen that story so many times, it's not funny. But let's go into this. Not a friend of the show, Candace Owens. Edward Allen, I want to see a little gray around the edges on my pilots. I don't know about too much gray. I mean, I got some gray, but I ain't flying that. But yeah, you want to feel secure to know that the person is behind that in that cockpit is not just qualified, but has, no opinions. I mean, well, let's go here for a minute. Because all those people in there, you don't know who they are. All we know is they're flying this plane. And at this time while they're flying this plane, every one of these passengers' lives are in their hands. What can you do? Whether they're black, white, Asian, Hispanic, whatever nationality they are, all those people's lives are in their hands. What do you do? Michelle Summerall, experience. Willis Cheney, my man, good morning, my brother. Morning, bro. Jumping in mid-discussion, but if someone gets on the plane and doubts a black person is qualified, walk your happy butt off. Yeah, you know what? That's the simplest way to put it. If you don't feel safe, why are you getting on the plane? Because I guarantee, and I'm glad you brought up, I guarantee he done got on a plane before. There was a black pilot, whether he seen him or not. He sat his butt on that plane, was probably flying first class, and didn't have a care in the world. Didn't have a care in the world. For the simple reason, he felt entitled to be sitting in first class. He felt entitled to be on that plane. And he felt entitled to the fact of knowing that no matter who that pilot is, it's their responsibility to get him where he's supposed to be. Let's call it what it is. James Austin, my good friend is a pilot, and there was a chance that he would be flying my flight. I was really thinking about it. My good friend is a pilot, and there was a chance that he would be flying my flight. I was really thinking about it. So, and we're both black. Is it because he's your good friend is why you was questioning it? Or do you don't think he's qualified? Just a question. Just a question. I mean, we all have our doubts at times. But this is not a doubt. This is just straight out racist. Just call it what it is. I'm not saying he's a racist, but his views have racist tones. Just put it out there. So let's get into this Candace Owens thing, and then we'll get back to this. And this is where she's defending, which you knew she would. This is where she's defending Charlie Kirk's view.
So you can see why the left loved that clip and why they're now calling Charlie Kirk, who I worked for and with for years, an avowed racist. He says that that's going to be his first thought if he sees a black pilot. And you know what? I said the exact same thing on this show just a couple of weeks ago. I remarked that now when I even am watching a commercial, if I see a commercial and I see a black person, a Hispanic person, an Asian person, my thought process is, did they just get this because DEI? I no longer think the person is qualified. Way back when, just a few short years ago, when I used to watch movies and I used to see a black character, I always just thought it's because he's a great actor. Denzel Washington, one of the greatest actors of our time. Like, he's amazing, obviously. But now my experience has changed because I recognize that we no longer live in a meritocracy. And I'm thinking they hired that person because they had to fulfill the quota. Oh, we must have at least X amount of black people. And I don't think that they deserve to be in those spaces anymore. And it makes me upset that that's my thought process when I see a commercial and when I see a movie. Is this person actually even a good actor, or are they just checking a box? But unfortunately, that is the reality of what happens when it comes to DEI. And what he is remarking on is true. I would be terrified if I got onto a plane and I saw a woman flying the plane. And I know that we have the United CEO saying that he just wants to fulfill a quota. He just wants there to be more women and wants there to be more black people. And he's not concerned at first with qualifications. That is something that should alarm all of us, guys, honestly. This is what Charlie Kirk had to say in his defense on Twitter. He said, I made a logical statement. In 2023, 19% of United's pilot corps was minority or female, which was already the highest among any airline. United CEO Steve Kirby, that's the one that we showed you that was dancing in trans gear or cross-dressing, whatever you want to call it, bragged that the airline would mandate that their next pilot class would be 50% female and minority. A few questions. 1, are there enough candidates to fill the 50% quota? 2, why are 81% of United's pilots white men currently? Is it because they happen to be the best pilots? Should we just assume it's because woke United is really super racist? Or is it possible that white men simply tend to be more interested in flying than other groups? 3, if white men land the planes safely, what is the problem? 4, if hiring is based on merit, why aren't there more minority female pilots? He goes on in the tweet, but essentially what he is doing is he is doubling down, and he should. These are important questions to ask. I agree with my colleague, Matt Walsh, that in the future, there is going to be a horrific accident on a plane, and it is going to be because this is what is happening on the corporate level. They no longer are concerned with safety. They just want to make sure that it looks black enough, that it looks.
I'll start in a minute. Michelle Summer, I wish her platform would just go away. Lisa Diane, love her. Okay, all right. Brian Hoodie, Lisa, listen to the substance, totally racist. Michelle Summerall, she doesn't even realize the box she is filling, the contrary black voice. They use her and she's ignorant enough to miss that. So let me unpack this for a minute here. And y'all keep chiming in, please. And Lisa, I would like to hear some input from you, since you say you love her, because I would like to know what you base that on personally. But here's where I'm gonna start at. Did you hear where, first of all, she did agree with him. But the part that jumped out at me was where she mentioned when she sees a movie and she wonders, is a black actor, was he qualified or was she qualified to do that? She brought up Denzel Washington, who's one of the greatest actors of our lifetime. Is he getting jobs because he's black, or is he getting because he's qualified? Well, his resume shows he's qualified. Let's just start there. But then what she's not realizing, by her bringing up these points, she's minimizing who she is and what she's doing in the spaces she does it in. She's minimizing who she is and what she's doing in the spaces that she's doing it in, because now you have to ask yourself, if you view that in her, speaking of her, if she views it where she questions whether anybody that she sees black is qualified for the position they're in or the job they're doing or anything that, then my question would be, in the platform you're in, are you there as a DEI hire per se? Because I don't see any other people of color on the Daily Wire, unless I'm not seeing something. I don't see any other person of color being sat up there and other than Jason Whitlock, let me put him in there. But you don't see, is she qualified to do what she does? If we're going to judge people by, if you see a black person in these spaces, is she qualified to do what she does? Or is she a pawn in the chess game? Because everything she said can be flipped around and pointed directly at her. But nobody sees that. The right doesn't see that. The people that listen to her don't see that her hypocriticisms, being hypocritical in the aspect of what she just said, puts her on the chopping block as well. Edward Allen, bring it, Michelle. Summerall, Lisa Diane. I got on late, but I'm the past. I've always loved her. Okay. Brian, I missed it. Willis Cheney. Ooh, we speak on the big bro. Hey, man. You know, my thing is, and I'm gonna say this. I don't get into the name calling. You know, we hear, and I'm not gonna put them out there. Y'all know the names I don't like. You know, sell out on time. You know, those type things. But if you step back for a minute and look at the people that we talk about I'm not gonna say we did. Other folks put that label on. It is easy to put that label on them because they give you the energy and the reasons to do it. I'm not saying it's right because I think there's a certain way that we need to deal with it because when you get in the name calling, it minimizes the impact of what you're trying to say. But what I would say about Candace Owens and the Jason Whitlocks and the Tim Scotts and all that, and the Nikki Haley's, because she's a person of color, because she's Indian, but she doesn't recognize herself as being Indian unless it's convenient for her. But in that aspect, I'll say this as a black man, and that's all I've been my whole life, is the fact of when you feel the need to minimize your culture, the people in your culture, the diversity within your culture, to try to put yourself on a different platform, like nobody sees you as the same color as me because of what you spew, trust and believe me, behind closed doors, no, you're no different than me. When you talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and because this pilot is black, is he qualified? Well, are you qualified? Do they see you as being qualified, or do they see you as just one of those people that they accept, not because of who you are, but because of your views? See, this is where the water gets muddy for a lot of folks, because when you try to straddle that fence and try to distance yourself from your culture and who you are and who your parents are, think about this for a minute. Have we ever seen Candace Owens' parents or anybody that's associated with her as far as family? Have we ever seen anybody in Tim Scott's family? Have we ever seen anybody in Jason Whitlock's family? The people that you hear that discriminate and throw so much stuff back against their own people, have you ever seen anybody in their family that looks like them speak up for them, defend them? I haven't to this day. And you won't. And you won't. You know why? Because they wrote them off a long time ago. They wrote them off a long time ago. James Austin, I had to really analyze why I would doubt my friend piloting my flight. The slave master's plan to divide us. That's what it is. Here's the thing. And I'm glad you said that, James Austin, but let me ask you this question and you can chime in. If I got a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, that does a job that seems very intricate, something that maybe out of the ordinary, a pilot, just a pilot. If I got a buddy that's a pilot, if I know my buddy, if that's my true friend, rather than question whether his capabilities are, why am I not uplifting him? But as you mentioned, the slave master's plan, the slave master's mentality, because what we do, we doubt our own people because it's been embedded in us to question anything about us because we're supposed to be less than. This is something that we got to get better at. This is something, and as you mentioned, James Austin, this is your friend, your good friend. Now, we may question our friends as far as their relationship choices and the things they do outside of life and everything. But if that person is qualified, even if you got a GED or a damn doctorate degree, I know what this person is qualified to do because I've been around him enough to know who he is and what he's capable of. But one thing about it, if we're mediocre, if we keep ourselves at a mediocre level, no harm, no foul. No harm, no foul. But we want to rise and reach the full potential of who we are and what we're capable of. That's when the questions come in. And the reason why is because we've broken ceilings, we've broken stereotypes, and people cannot handle it. Even our own people. Even our own people can't handle that. Y'all got me on one this morning. OT speak on Brother Allen. You better say that, little brother. James Austin has taken deep roots. It has. It is deeply rooted. But we got to find out what the root cause is. Brian Hoodie, the very thing Candace is speaking of, DEI, she is in that spot being the only person of color on the show. That's all I'm saying. I called him to apologize. And here's the thing, James Austin, I'm glad you said that. That's something that we don't do. We don't tell people when we have doubts about them that we had the doubts and then apologize for our shortcomings of who we are to think that they can't do something. Most times because we can't do it. Because we can't do it. Lisa Diane, I automatically assumed she was talking about equality. I really misunderstood. But in the past, I never caught anything she said that was off. Well, the thing is this, and that's fine. I totally understand. But I would say this to you, Lisa Diane, and I would challenge you. Do it on your own time. Go back and listen to her takes on different things. And let me know when she does a take, most of her takes are always negative when it comes to people that look like her. And then you have to ask yourself, why is that? See, self-love is a very slippery slope, very slippery slope for some folk. Because when you're in an environment where you feel accepted, where other people that look like you aren't accepted, you feel you've made it. But because you feel like you've made it, your self-love as being a proud African-American Black female has gone by the wayside because she doesn't identify like that anymore. She feels because she's accepted in those circles, because she's accepted for what she does against her own people, that it's okay, that she's not looked at as being Black enough or being a sellout or being this or being that. But then you have to ask yourself, how well does she sleep at night knowing? Because the conscious is a 24-hour machine. And you can't tell me that in her mind, she knows what she's doing. She's always known what she's doing. And the thing about it, and I'll go back to this with her, and I'm not going to stay on her too long, but I'll go back to this. This is the same person who told everybody not to vote for Donald Trump. And then she woke up one day and she was a Trump supporter. Who got in her ear? How much did they pay her? And look at where she's at now. I just bring facts, bro. I just bring facts. I'm not saying I'm the end all to be all, but I'm going to give you what I know. And when it comes to people like her, we've all dealt with them. We've all seen them. We know who they are. We know how they operate. But some of us give them the benefit of the doubt. And you know why we do that sometimes? I'm going to be honest with you. You know why we give people like Candace Owens and Jason Whitlock and Tim Scott and people like that? You know why we give them the benefit of the doubt sometimes? Because there's a small piece of each one of us that are exactly like them. Let's just be honest. There's a small piece of us that are exactly like them to a certain extent. The difference is we don't act on it. We don't act on it because we know who we are. We know who our people are, and we know what we're worthy of. Everyone has a certain amount of jealousy, envy, all that. But if it's this small, you can control it. As it grows and gets out of control, that's when you lose your identity. Just a R.W. Cooling's opinion. Lisa Diane, I'll relook this all up. I'm saddened if she's a sold out. Heartbreaking. I ain't call her sellout. I didn't call her sellout. I said other people. I don't like to use those terms on here. I didn't say it. Somebody else did. But if you go back and listen, I guarantee it's going to raise some flags with you. I guarantee you. OT, same thing with the vice president. Call him racist and then accept to be the vice president. That's where we're at, y'all. And I wanted to touch on this, and I know I'm going a little bit over today, but we all right. I pulled up diversity, equity, and inclusion because they keep on with this DEI, and they're so hell-bent against diversity, equity, inclusion. Help it make sense. I know, OT. They're so much against DEI that they feel anybody of color or anybody that's not white is getting some kind of leg up because of diversity, equity, and inclusion. But they've made it such a bad thing. But if this country was built on what it said it was, you would not need the diversity, equity, inclusion. You would not need affirmative action. You wouldn't need these things that have been put in place to try to correct those wrongdoings. You wouldn't need these things. But diversity, the condition of having or being composed of differing elements, especially the inclusion of people of different races. An instance of being composed of differing elements or qualities, an instance of being diverse. Equity, justice according to natural law or right. Specifically, freedom from bias or favoritism, something that is equitable. Inclusion, the act of including, the state of being included, something that is included, such as, the act or practice of including and accommodating people who have historically been excluded, as because of their race, gender, sexuality, or ability. DEI. The words are in the Merriam-Webster dictionary. Very simple, very simplistic. But when you put them all together to try to right the wrongs of what's been done in this country to a people, it becomes a bad word to some folks. It becomes something that they don't like because it may help someone get in a space that they normally wouldn't be in or be allowed in. Or they're jealous that they're not qualified to be in that position. So what they use is they use DEI as a bad word because you're there, you're qualified, and you've earned a position, but they want to make it seem like DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, is the only reason you're there. Case in point, what Charlie Kirk said about the pilot. What she said about a female pilot. Now, mind you, she said she doesn't feel comfortable with a female pilot. Last time I checked, ain't she a female? So what is she saying? Sandra Martinez, we too have SO. I don't like using the word either. Good to see you, sir. Hey, I didn't even recognize who you were. Good morning, Sandra. Appreciate you tuning in. Thank you. I didn't even recognize the name. I got you now. Good to see you too. I can't see you, but you know what I'm saying. But anyway, as I was saying, it's just one of those things, man. You have to step back and ask yourself, why? And I've said this many times and I'll say it again. What is the fear? What is the fear that they are going about the way they're going about, doing what they're doing? I've been on this earth 57 years, and I have felt more non-inclusive in my life than I felt inclusive. Let me say it again. I felt more non-inclusive in my travels and in my lifetime than I felt inclusive. And I say that not because, everything that's ever been done against me has been racially motivated or anything like that. What I'm saying is there's a lot of spaces I've been in that even though I know I'm qualified to be there, I did not feel like I was supposed to be there. Not because of my own shortcomings or anything, but because of the way it felt to be looked at in those spaces, the way I was treated in those spaces. Those things that happen to us, those experiences, are like scars. You just can't see them. And when you hear a Charlie Kirk or you hear a Candace Owens who looks like me sit on a platform and say that when she sees Black folks anywhere doing something, let's just break it down. She didn't say it, but she said it. If she sees Black folks doing anything, she questions whether they're qualified to be there. This is coming from a Black woman in this country in 2024. And to give a little history for those that don't know, this is the same woman that sued, had the NAACP do a suit for her in, I think she's from Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, somewhere up there, against a school district because she felt that she was being discriminated against. This is when she was in high school. The NAACP she went to fight a case for her that she won. And then in 2024, this is the vitriol that she's spewing out of her mouth on a platform against anybody that looks like her, if they don't have the same view. Let that marinate. How do you get to that point of having that much self-hate? And then I'm going to say this and then I'm going to let this go. When I see people like her, like Jason Whitlock, and I'm only naming a couple that I know off the top of my head because, they're the biggest perpetrators right now. Some of y'all got them in your own walks of life. Let's be real. But when I see them do this and spew this vitriol against people that look like them, the first thing that comes to my mind is not who hurt them. Because that's most of the time. Be like, who hurt you? Not that. Or did somebody do something to you that you just can't get past? You know what I think about? How do they feel about their parents, their mother, their father, their grandparents, their uncles, their cousins, hell, even their brothers and sisters? How do they feel about their own DNA when they go out here and spew this? Because in most cases, the success, if you want to call it that people like that have achieved has come off the backs of their DNA. People in their bloodline somewhere were slaves in this country. Somebody in their bloodline somewhere marched along with Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., or chose to stand behind Malcolm X, or chose to fight with the Black Panther movement. Somewhere in their bloodlines, they had some type of relation in that movement, the civil rights era movement. How do they feel about them being in their bloodline when you get on a platform and you spew that vitriol against the people that look like you? To say that if you get on a plane and you see a black pilot, or if you see anybody black in a position, it causes you to question if they're qualified. Wow. That's some real self-hate. When you have to distance yourself that far away from who you are. Not who you are as a person, but who you are in your DNA. Who raised you? I don't get it, and I probably never will. But I'm not going to stop fighting. I'm not going to stop fighting. I'm not even going to do. I can't bring it down to do the mind, body, and soul today because this is just. I'm a little hyped this morning. So we're going to end the show with this. But I want to say this before we get off of here. We talk about these things, but what's going on in the world, like the cases in Georgia and the cases against the former president and the inequality things we see in the justice system. We just seen that, somebody else just got out of jail after serving a sentence that he didn't do the crime or anything like that. And when we listen, like I mentioned before, when we listen to these conversations that are being had, these forums like the one I talked about on MSNBC tomorrow night, Black Men in America, talking about the election for 2024, the road to Black Men in America, the road to 2024 comes on tomorrow night on MSNBC at 9:00. Thank you, OT. Take a deep breath. I'm trying, bro. When we watch these type things and we listen to what our opinions are in this country and what our opinions are about what's going on right now with the elections and everything, step back and don't necessarily judge the people for their opinions, because we don't truly know their experiences, right? We don't know their experiences. We don't know why they think like they think. But listen to what and how they articulate how they feel and who they feel it about. Why they feel what they feel, and are they articulating something that makes sense, or are they articulating something that only is going to benefit them in the long run? Because we all have our own things that we have to take care of. We have our own things that are a priority when you prioritize, when you start looking at who you want in office and what's important to you. But we shouldn't get out here and have to have our opinions about calling people sellouts and this and that for difference of opinions. I know it sounds like I'm going down a different road, but listen to what I'm saying. Difference of opinions is a good thing. But difference of opinion should not have you alienate anybody and everybody that looks like you just because you don't agree with them. And the other part of it is that when you get out here and we hear these people spew this vitriol against a race of people who they've never walked in the shoes to know the experiences, the trials and tribulations, and the fight that they fight each and every day. To get on a platform and say that if you see a Black pilot, you have questions of whether they're qualified, you have not only minimized that person's ability to do what he's doing, you've not only minimized the fact that this person has been schooled, educated, whatever it requires for him to sit in that seat. What you've done was eliminated and tried to whitewash, and I'll use that word, whitewash, how these people of this culture have persevered in spite of everything. Everything. That's how simple it is. That's where we're at. That's where we're at. Nancy Obeng, great ride, New York, correct. Now I'm loving your salt and pepper, beautiful. I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you very much. We need to mind, body, and soul. I'm going to save it for next week, bro. I mean, that was part of it right there. Lisa Diane, just a suggestion. Why not get Candace Owens on the show to call her out on things? Well, here's what you got to remember. I'm just a small pebble in this big rock quarry. People like me, to get someone like that on my show, it would never happen. Because here's the thing. They don't go on shows where they have to defend their points. They go on shows where people pacify their opinions and what they stand for. You'll never see a Candace Owens on a Roland Martin. You'll never see her on, and God rest his soul now, a James Madison, the Black Eagle. You'll never see him. He passed away. But you'll never see him on shows like that because they push back. They push back against the vitriol that they spew because they have nothing factual to stand on. So they won't go on those shows. They will not. Kimberly Sheridan, moral solidarity, slavery effects still alive. We have a pilot team from our grad class. Can't wait to fly. Do your thing. Fly away, fly away. And every time somebody gets on that plane, make sure you stand but in front of the cockpit. Don't sit in the seat. Stand there as they getting on and let them know, I'm flying this mine right here. Let them know as soon as they get on. This me right here. Y'all, you sure you want to go? Because you got a chance to back up now. You got the chance. Willis Cheney, amen. Michelle Summerall, great show. Appreciate you. Thanks for the continued support. Lisa Diane, makes sense. Yeah, and that's the biggest thing. You know, it's one of those things that you have to look at the circles that they travel in. They're going to travel in circles that are receptive to what they're presenting. That's it. That's it. Yes, be proud. Yeah, and I'm gonna close it out with this. And this can be the mind, body, and soul for today if you want it to be, for you to take with you. But I'm gonna put it in this terms. We always hear, and we grew up with the verbiage, say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud. And a lot of us took that when we were younger and we was like, I'm Black and I'm proud, I'm Black and I'm proud. In today's society, in today's what's going on in this world, we're still a proud people, but we don't voice it. We don't say how proud we are to be Black anymore. We don't say, I love my people. I'm just gonna put it out. I love my people. I love everybody, but I love my people because we are a kaleidoscope. I'm gonna use a kaleidoscope. You know how you turn the kaleidoscope and it turns all these different shapes and forms and colors and everything? That's who we are. We're a kaleidoscope of different personalities, of different abilities. We are a people that have found a way to stand out. But what we do is we walk in rooms and we minimize who we are for the room. I'll say this to each one of you out there listening, and you can pass this on during Black History Month. I don't care if you only do it until the February 29th this year. When you walk in the room, let them know you're there. You ain't got to be loud. Walk with your head up, shoulders back, chest out. Be proud. Let them know I'm here. Not because somebody just decided to put me here. I worked to get here. And I'm going to show you. I'm not going to try to prove it, but I'm going to let you know in what I do and how I do it and how great I do it. I'm supposed to be here. It has nothing to do with minimizing who you are. What it has to do with is maximizing and showing people that I'm worthy to be where I'm at. I'm worthy to be sitting in this seat. We've minimized ourselves because of all the things that are going on around us to make it seem like we have to kind of just blend in. Be the person in these next 20 something days that walks in a room and it looks like you got the loudest suit on that you ever had in your life. When you walk in a room, light the room up. Be proud of who you are. And I'm gonna digress for a minute, but let me just say this. And I know I'm going on, I mean, we're 20 minutes in, but I might as well go another minute or so. But I want to put this out here. The other day, I was going through a lot of boxes because I got a lot of stuff from when I was in the military, certificates and stuff like this. But I started reading some of my evaluations while I was in. And as I was reading them, I wrote, and you know, sometimes they embellish, but the facts are the facts on what I've done in my career. And what I realized was I have taken myself, because of the environments that I've been in since I got out of the military, I have minimized my capabilities to fit into the areas that I'm in. I don't say this to be braggadocious. I don't say this to try to seem like I'm this bad MF, but I am. But I read these evals, I read these decorations, the awards, and the things I've done in my career while I was active duty and even out of. And I look at where I'm at now, and I have just gone from being an outstanding, great, knowing what he's doing, displaying the epitome of being a professional, to just coasting. And I had to ask myself, why and how did I get here? And the reason I got there was because I'm in a position now where it doesn't require the best of my ability. So I had to step back for a minute and say, wait a minute. I have fallen victim to my environment. Do not fall victim to your environment. If you're a person that is always at the top of your game, no matter what the situation is, and you go into a different situation that doesn't require this, don't minimize yourself. Continue to do what you're capable of doing, no matter the environment you're in. I had to step back and look at myself in that, and I hope this touches somebody out there to have you do a self-evaluation and say, am I just coasting right now? Because you know we're all getting close to retirement, so we get in that coasting mode where, yeah, I ain't got to put that much effort in. I'm almost at the end of the road, but it's working. But at the end of the day, you got to continue to be who you are, no matter the environment, no matter the situation. I read those those evaluations and those decorations, and I had to step back for a minute and ask myself, who is this guy? Because I don't recognize him anymore. But now, after reading those and recognizing where I'm at compared to where I used to be, it's time to get back to who I was, not who I've become. Just want to put that out there. All right, y'all. We can already cut this off. Mark Cheeks, that's good. Appreciate you, bro. Kimberly Sheridan, nobody can stop who we are as individuals, as a group, as a nation. No, they can't. No, they can't. Michelle Summerall, do the most for yourself. You do it for others. Amen. I appreciate everybody tuning in, and we're going to go ahead and get off here, man, because I'm going too long today. I appreciate everybody tuning in. We'll be back again next week. I'm working on a female panel. I'm going to have a panel of some female friends of mine, and I don't want to put it that way, but they're all going to be female. But we're going to have a panel. We're going to sit down and we're going to talk about some things. I haven't come up with a specific topic, but it's going to be a good one. We're going to sit down and we're going to have some discussions about, I don't know, something is hot, something is going to get some conversation going, and something is going to open us up to understand. Because we had the men on with the barbershop talk, but we got to get the women. We need to have our women and their voices heard about what they're looking for going forward and how we can improve and try to help support them in the same way they do us men. I appreciate everybody tuning in, man. Let's go ahead and get out of here. Appreciate you, Kimberly Sheridan. Thank you. Like, share, and subscribe at all locations, Facebook, YouTube. Do what you do with your other shows. As I always say before we sign off, love yourself, love one another, keep your head up, and most definitely keep your faith in God. I'll see y'all again next week, and I love y'all, and I appreciate y'all, and we out. Peace.